Good afternoon, folks. You are listening to Radio Robin Hood. This is Conversation Oasis coming to you from the city center here in Turku from Kasviskeidas restaurant. Today we are going to talk about sikhism and annoying discussion culture and stress with today's guest, Jaspreet Singh Pannu, right? Did I get your name right?
Yes.
And Branko Lampi, who is the usual suspect around this table. In general, Jalal is not with us today because he's busy with something else. But we're gonna talk exotic stuff here because we have such an exotic guest with us here today. The first Sikh I've ever known. Jaspreet, would you like to elaborate? No, not elaborate. Like, tell us a little bit about Sikhism. Like, okay, sorry, this was a too kind of difficult question. Like, what is, like, I mean, in here, like, first of all, people confuse Sikhs with Muslim because of the appearance or the turban, basically. So that indicates we don't know much, at least not about Sikhism, but obviously not very much about Islam either, if we mix them like that. So for example, what's the meaning of the turban in Sikhism?
I would say turban is, first I would like to tell you about the differences. In Islam, not everyone wears turban. So it's not literally a part of the religion in Islam. So, but in Sikhism, the turban is a part of identity, particularly for men. So when we are talking about the Sikh, you will certainly see people with turban and with their unsworn hairs, beard, mustaches, and every other hair. And
this has to do with being kind of unmodified.
it is actually the main motto of Sikhism is to be how your creator have created you, and not to modify it, but rather to groom it and live with it. So the principle here is, if you have been given your beard, you're supposed to have it rather than just taking it away.
So you actually, I've seen you with like very elaborated ways to tie the turban as well. I'm being quite impressed sometimes. Like, so you tie your hair inside the turban, right?
Yes, we have quite long hairs, quite long unsworn hair. Me particularly, I have never shaved my head ever in my life. So we clean them every time and we tie them every day on our head, and then we tie our turban on.
Right. Have you been confused with a Muslim?
Technically every time.
Every time? And
most of the times, yeah.
So people think you're a Muslim?
That's the problem right now in the society, that if we look around, personally, I am pretty much sure nobody would have seen any Muslim, at least in Finland, who wears turban. But I think it is mostly from the TV channel or the movies that we see, that they always represent this sort of people with turban and everything. And maybe that's how people get confused with that thing. And the thing is, Sikhism is quite, there are not too many people around the world. And that is the main reason why, generally, like specifically in Finland, I have hardly seen one or two Sikh other than me. So people haven't seen, so I'm pretty much sure that is the main reason. So.
Right. How long have you been here now in Finland?
It's been over a year already.
Right, and you come from India. Which city?
I come from capital, New Delhi.
New Delhi, yeah. How is it over there, like compared to here, like your everyday life?
Delhi, we have everyone knows who is Sikh there, at least in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything is quite normal. Like, people know who you are, what your beliefs are, and they respect quite well. And that's the best part of India itself, that people know that there are a variety of different people, and nobody somehow just judge people so quickly, at least.
How is white people considered over there?
White people are considered as white, I would
like
say.
White people considered white. What does it mean in that context?
in that context,
What do you Indians think about us white people?
I would say India has a long history of being suffering through English people. So
Exactly.
they have like 200 years of suffering from English people, and then somehow whenever they see any white-skinned person, they would rather say, "Oh, this is an Englishman." So whether they know the person is from Canada, America, Finland, or any place of the earth, no.
So basically, a white person is a British from the Indian perspective, and British asshole or something. Right. Branko, what do you have any curious questions to our exotic guest here in the studio today?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm joking around here with you, Jasperit.
I didn't know that much about Sikhism myself. From not about was it a year ago, I watched a YouTube video that explains explained Sikhism or Sikhs, but before that I didn't really. So I'm sure I don't know a specific question, but could you elaborate on the ideology or something like that?
Elaborate. We are very academic. We always use this. Elaborate. Can you elaborate on this?
On the specific ideologies on
I would actually
way of thinking.
I would.
Do you hate women? Is that that's one of the core questions with every religion? What's your view on women? This is what? Yeah. So let's start with that or something.
Okay, I would first answer his question, ideology. First, I would tell you a bit about Sikhism. Sikhism is this religion came out in around middle of 15th century. It was a result of over suppression of Indian society at that point of time by those Mughal rulers, and it was the main reason was to go against the oppression of people at that point of time, because they were being forcefully converted and they were suffering through different sort of atrocities. That was one of the main reason to fight against that thing, because one of the main principle of Sikhism is that everyone have their own right, no matter what you think, what do you worship, it's part of your right. So whether you are Hindu or Christian or Muslim or anything, if you want to be one, you should be one, rather than being just intimidated by someone by forcefully or in any manner. And the main ideology of Sikhism is to remember God, do your deeds, do your job, earn your bread, and the third one is to distribute and eat. Is to share. Sharing is part of it, so that nobody around you should sleep without food. That is one of the main ideology of Sikhism. And about your question about women. Women are considered equal to men. Even at certain level, women are considered better than men. Because of one of our own this religious verses which we recite, as have particularly mentioned that Sokyo manda akhiye chit jamme rajan. How we can say anything bad to a woman who have given birth to kings, gods, and everything. They were there in the world because of a woman. So if she is so powerful, then how in the world you can say a woman is somehow less powerful or somehow less valuable or anything on that matter?
Yeah, then on the other hand, we have talked about this before, Jaspreet, but also, and I pointed out that, but why can't the women be kings and stuff themselves? Why did they only give birth to them? Why are they not sort of gods and kings themselves? If they are equal, I mean, yeah, a little bit of a critical.
No, I wouldn't say it's critical, because, for example, only if I'll only talk about Sikhism, it's right now I will also consider point of Indian society itself also. So
Right.
if you consider in Hindu mythologies, there are many women as goddesses.
Mhm.
But in
Yeah,
Sikhism, we don't have any god. We worship one god, and that really don't have any name or any form. So we literally don't consider God as a man or a woman anyway.
So what is God then?
God doesn't have any sort of form. It
Or
doesn't
let's-
have any sex or
or let-
anything.
What role does God then have? Because obviously the relationship to God is defined through, or I mean this, how to have to not cut the hair and stuff, for example, not to modify the body, has to do with the relationship to God, kind of that a respect for yourself, the way you were created
Yes.
by this God
Yes.
entity.
Yes.
So God has some kind of function.
Yes.
So if it's not like the Christian or the Abrahamic gods, or the monotheistic God, which has a male shape and a very authoritative and other stuff, how would it contrast the understanding of God in Sikhism? If you don't have to answer this question if it's too I don't know,
I understand your question, but the fact
too particular.
it's not actually. You are saying as an Abrahamic religion.
Abrahamic, yeah.
Religion, it's considered as a male person and very authoritative. So yet again, if we are considering that, then again we are defining that being a male is also being authoritative.
Exactly.
That's not the point in Sikhism itself.
Yeah.
Authority can lie to a women also.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bound to any particular physical form.
But authority, well, maybe not.
That's more of a sociological level we are talking about. Being men as a authority of a family or something like that. So, but that thing certainly doesn't exist in Sikhism itself. So if you want to consider God as a woman, you can do it. If you want to consider God as man, the fact remains it is not about being a male or female. It is just about remembering the one who has created you.
And everything else too, right?
Everything else, anything that is going on in the world is going because of his will, because of what he have decided to the world. So
and now somebody would be, what? You said he? You said he. What?
okay,
I'm sorry, I'm putting you here in a chair like this and then I'm asking questions like the Branko is just silent there.
So I might quote, okay, he or she or
it.
Or it.
Or something.
Or others. I wouldn't say.
This force. No, this.
Anything.
This something.
Yeah, but the main theme behind is to remember that particular entity who has created you. So no matter what you call it.
So some respect to the creator, whoever or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Kind of. Right. Branko, don't be so silent.
Yeah, I don't know what to add. It's an interesting concept of God, that it's less of a person and more like an essence of whatever you want to, an essence of nature, or an essence of spirituality, however you want to define it. I mean, you can, in a sense, define spirituality even if you don't believe in a God or a specific religion. You can define spirituality as a sense of how would you say it in English? It's a self-awareness or awareness of your surrounding, awareness of your feelings, or awareness of other people. So it's a sense of being outside yourself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of spiritual, that we don't just exist as I don't just exist as me. I also exist in other people, and I also in the sense that other people are aware of me.
Yes.
And I am aware of that.
They are aware of you.
Yes. So in sense I must like compare compare myself to the way that other people see me. Of course, through discussion and through thinking and all that kind of things.
And feeling.
And feeling. So
you forgot the most important thing there.
Think
that's less,
true.
feel more.
That's true. Yes, it's often forgotten it's not entirely left out, but it's often forgotten in philosophy, which is a problem because feeling is a very different way of perceiving the world.
And speaking of philosophy, I've been not haunted, but I have had this thought in my mind for some days now that I've been burning to kind of utter out loud. Is it possible? I mean, I'm convinced of the answer actually, but what would you guys say? Can you be a good philosopher without being a good person?
Well, I suppose in a sense that depends on how you want to define a good philosopher. I mean,
in academia, for example?
Yeah, I suppose a person who generally harms or does harm, not physical harm, is an unpleasant person or
an asshole,
or
just,
asshole and
just
mean
an
to other
asshole.
people. Kind of mean asshole.
Can there be a gentle asshole?
Now I'm.
Sorry, I'm joking around. I'm not tired. I just finished work and now we're coming here to record this. I'm quite tired, so I can't keep my
Where was I?
Gentle
gentle.
Well, ladies and gentlemen and others, you're listening to Conversation Oasis. This is Radio Robin Hood. We are sending you this program, our weekly discussion program here from Kasviskeidas restaurant in the city center of Turku. In the studio with me I have Branko Lampi and Jaspret Singh Pannu, and myself, I'm Nana Blomqvist. I'm a junior researcher at Åbo Academy University. We have been talking about sikhism and philosophy, and we kind of got into this. Is it possible to be a no, okay. Is it possible to be a good philosopher and an asshole at the same time? No, is it possible to be a good philosopher even if you're not a good person?
Well, yeah. Well, you can. I think that you can be a mean person and still contribute something to philosophy as a whole. I mean, a way of thinking, for example, a way of thinking that can be good, like moral philosophy. I do know some philosophers in the university I attend who I don't necessarily agree on all aspects, but they one specific person that wrote a lot about love, the philosophy of love, and then in a moral kind of way, introducing the concept of love in morality. And I don't remember the specifics, but I did really like the essay. And then I heard this person talk at a seminar, and this person, a male person, but I don't want to say the name, was kind of an asshole. Did say some things that
we might know the same people. Small circles.
Yeah, and I don't even remember exactly what he said that made me think so, but anyway, you can contribute something great to I mean, I liked his essay, and I thought it contributed to my own way of thinking, in a sense, because, well, it made me think about introducing love and feelings into our concept of morality, and that contributes to philosophy in a good way. But then that person might not be pleasant, at least in all contexts or all social circles.
Maybe the intellectual philosophizing can also be like a distanced way an intellectual way to deal with philosophical issues without taking like feelings and such and morality, like actual morality and interpersonal interaction into account. Like actually, that is actually a way to keep yourself on a safe distance from real things, so you write about it instead.
Yeah.
Sort of. I've been thinking like that sometimes. So people maybe escape.
Yeah. But in the grand picture, I would say that to be a great philosopher, I think that you have to be respectful and kind, to at least appreciate, because philosophy is not about well, in a sense it's about our own way of thinking, but it's also about understanding other people's way of thinking, that we can't be too egotistical with our own mindset, that we have to be able to think about how other people perceive the world and introduce that into our own way of thinking.
And feeling.
And feeling, yes.
Feel more, think less.
Yes, but you have to think about, if you want to if you want to sort your feelings out, you have to think about them a little bit. Exactly. So you have to kind of create a language out of it, or introduce language into feelings, how to explain feelings. So in a sense, you have to make it into a way of thinking. So it's not that
feel thinking.
Yeah.
Thinking.
So feelings are not outside the realm of thought. So I can talk about thinking and also mean feeling, because you can't think without feeling and you can't feel without thinking. It's kind of it goes hand in hand.
Sometimes philosophy might not be so honest with feelings, kind of.
True.
That's what I kind of perceive sometimes. Like, you can talk. You can talk a lot, but it won't make you a better person. That's just how it can appear sometimes.
Yeah, but I do think it's a problem, yes, that you have to be mindful about all aspects, and it's a problem if we, for example, if you're focused on the philosophy of logic, mathematical philosophy, then yes, it's the necessary philosophical aspect of philosophy. But if you remove feelings out of the questions, or you remove language, the philosophy of language, feelings, love, etc., then we have a problem. If we have a pure logical way for thinking about morals, for example. If we don't consider feelings, then we have our whole philosophy falls apart, which is often the case, I think, when you read some older philosophers who kind of, they want to impose like Descartes, for example, that want to impose a strict logical way of mathematical way of thinking, who, by the way, Descartes thought that it was like that this pure mathematical way of thinking was perceiving the world through, it was God's perfection. Like you understand God, or you're closer to God if you perceive the world like through logical kind of.
That was Descartes. Who?
Descartes.
Descartes. That's how you pronounce his name. Yeah.
It was the person who said, "I think, therefore I am."
It's
also
that
kind
guy,
of
that guy.
It's a kind of a misunderstood quote, because who
knows the truth?
Yeah, because he thought that I think, therefore I am, but he wasn't so sure that other people existed. Because his perfect logic
sounds a bit delusional, but to me, but.
Yeah, but his perfect logic was that the only thing he can be sure about is if he exists or not. because he can't perceive the world to other people, so his logic kind of pure. Well,
Yeah, but like someone who is bothered by this question very much, it sounds like a bit of a troubled person. Like it's also one way to look at it, I think.
well, his
Yes, Pri, you are from the country of self-searching and soul-searching. Don't you have anything to say to this? No, I'm kidding. We have this. I'm playing with these stereotypes now, like,
No, that's actually true. There are a lot of soul-searching people in India.
and they're white, probably, right? We come from
And
here,
they
go
are
in there.
Russians.
I go
mostly.
to India to find myself. Sorry, I'm joking
Yeah,
around
that-
about this, but like
That's true, actually.
people do that, you know.
They actually do that, and the thing is, the problem is that they actually get stuck with those philosophical people that you're talking about. Those philosophical people who are really good in making up the words how they want them to be, and people are really falling for them. Not only, I wouldn't say only white, but every other color person whosoever goes to them. So, and about being good or bad is a question in itself, because generally a philosophical life is very much theoretical. I believe it actually depends on how you represent it. So if you are good with your words and you can represent your philosophy in a very nice manner, then no matter how much intelligent the other person is, his intelligence will go into vain. But if if the person is good, if the person has a really nice philosophy, but he's somehow not able to put them into right words, how to present them to the people, no matter how good the philosophy is, no matter how good the person is, nobody will listen to him.
Yeah. But on the other hand, then also, I mean, some people have a better shit filter than others. Like, if we put it in these words. Sorry, I'm very like not so nice in my vocabulary today. But like some people are
today.
today. Yeah, well, maybe, but okay, shit filter translated into other language, like a person who knows people better. Like some people knows people better than others, and not so sensitive to people's bullshit. Sort of. I mean, people can be different in the sense that not all people are so easily misguided and easily manipulated. That's what I'm trying to say. The shit filter.
That's the thing, those are quite intelligent people, but
Emotionally intelligent.
Emotionally
And that's
intelligent.
exactly like...
But unfortunately, the number of those people are reducing every
Or,
time.
or emotionally... Not intelligent, maybe the wrong word, but emotionally...
Strong?
Yeah. Or somehow... Yeah. Somehow.
Maybe because their life is becoming so busy for everyone that they are not concerned with this part of themselves anymore. They're like just to get a bit of satisfaction from environment in whichever form they can get.
Yeah, how we got to that point is difficult to say, and I think like all these discussion topics Branko had in his mind before we kind of ran out of time here would maybe give us the big answers to these big questions, like how this annoying debating culture we have around here, and the stress level Branko is suffering from himself right now. So. But that we have to leave to another. We will answer this big question in the next episode probably then. So for this time we have to say you have been listening to Conversation Oasis, coming to you from Kasviskeidas restaurant here in the city center of Turku at Radio Robin Hood. In the studio I've had with me today Jasperit, Sing Pannu and Branko Lampi and myself Nana Blomqvist. You will hear us again next week. Bye bye.